I'm just going to try pip3 install wxPython. Huh. Ah, okay, it's working. It is. So that did work. I said wxPython. I just need to import wx. Okay, so everyone do an import wx and make sure you don't get any errors. And let me know if you have any issues with that. And so to review, basically, to install wxPython, you go to wxpython.org. You go to their download page, and they give you the command to install it, which is pip install wxPython. And then if you have Linux, there's a little bit more that you might put in there. You can read through for your particular machine what the best way to install it is. Once you install it, it should run through and do the install. And up here we can see where I typed in the command pip install wxPython. It runs through and will actually install it in your site packages folder of your Python install. And then you can run idle and just say import wx, and it should just do the import. If it does, then you've probably installed it. If it gives you an error, then you may need to try the install steps again. What kind of errors did you get, Laura? Oh, you can't open up. Are you on Windows or Mac? Okay, so try. So when you go to here, if you type command, do you get command prompt like that? And what I recommend is running that. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, try the restart. And I'll talk about the WX for a little bit, and then afterwards, if anyone's having difficulty getting it to start, then we'll spend the second half of this class. I'll just work on troubleshooting with people. But I recommend running in administrator mode. That pip is not recognized on yours. Okay, so what that might mean is that you might need to go back and install Python 3, and you might not have checked the thing that says install pip. Let's see. You might also look up pip, and you can do an install by following these instructions. So if you search for pip, or just search for install pip, it'll bring you to this site, and if you go to this get pip program, it actually gives you a Python program that you can run to do the pip install. Probably the easiest way is just reinstall Python and check the box that says please install pip, but you can install pip separately by doing this. So give that a try. So WXPython is where you install the GUI library. It's not the only GUI library available. Same thing with you, Brendan. I'll work that with everyone after I go through this part of the demo. Try to reinstall Python 3 and select the option that says install pip. If that doesn't work, you can install pip separately following. Let me put that link up there. So that's the link for installing pip just directly. The other possibility is, of course, just reinstalling Python. So other graphical user interfaces include tkinter, Python Win, Java Swing, PyGTK, PyQt. And there's always going to be new ones. I think actually tkinter gets installed with Python. This book initially started with WXPython, but they may be in tkinter right now. They all kind of work in a similar way. There's slight differences. Once you understand how a GUI interface works, you should be able to use other frameworks, but you have to read their documentation to see how they work. So what we're going to do for a demo, probably next time, if not this time, is write a basic program that enables you to edit a text file. It must allow you to open text files, get their file names, and then edit them and save text files. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to make a much better version of Microsoft Word. It'll look like this. So we're not going to have all that junk that the Microsoft Word has. We're just going to have, you type in a file name and you can open it, or you can type text here and save it. And when you type a file name and open it, it'll overwrite whatever's in this text box and then display what's there. So that's what we're going to make with the demo. And this is going to be what we're going to do to get to just test our WXPython. So to do this, we'll create a new file, and I'm going to kind of just do this first part so that you have something to test, and then I'm going to go and probably spend the rest of the time helping people debug how to get the system on, get the library loaded. And the way this works is you import WX just like we did here. We have to create two things for a GUI application. We create an application and a window. The application is this program that kind of runs in the background and is used to, and then its job is basically to see if we click on any buttons or do anything that requires some event code to be run. And it's just looking to see, it's just checking all of the controls we have. The window is actually the thing that we see on the screen. And you'll notice that when I typed my parentheses, it came up with in IntelliSense with the function for frame. And you can see that we need something called parent. Parent is basically what that window belongs to. In this case, since it's going to be the first one, we're just going to put a none in there. And then we have all these other attributes we can set. Title is what will show up on the title. We can put where its position will be when it shows up. There's a whole bunch of stuff, what size it will have. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can set, which we'll see later. But for now, we're just going to put none, saying that, hey, just make this be the top level window. And just because you create a window doesn't mean that the user can see it. You have to call its show method for the window to be visible. And after we show the window, we're going to call app.mainLoop. This loop is the one, if you don't have an app running, then when they click on buttons or do anything on the GUI, they won't see anything, or nothing will happen. The main loop is actually what interrogates this. Once I do this, what you should get, and I'll save this. In my programs folder. I've done a few of these, so I'm just going to call it GUI Demo 3. And what should happen is you get this window that shows up. So that's what we're after. Oh. So is there anyone still having difficulty getting everything to work to this stage? Okay, Brendan, what kind of things are you seeing? Does it just not run at all? Okay, try this then. What I'm going to suggest is this. Go, and this is kind of a bit of a hack. Go to your C drive, go to your Python folder, and go to scripts. Do you see pip there? Python folder can be in a couple different places. It might be in your C drive like here. It can also be in your program files. And C program files. The other place it can be is if you installed it just for a user, you have to go to your user folder. Go to users, your username, and you're going to have hidden items enabled under view in your directory. But if you go to, it's usually local, I think. You might have a Python folder there. So in my case, it's got some stuff, but it's old stuff. So it might be a folder along these lines. And if that all fails, what I would recommend doing is just reinstall Python and ask it to install pip. Reinstall yeah. Did it give you the option for installing pip? So try that pip command again and see if you get it. Then you need to probably add it to your, you need to find the directory it's in, and you need to add that to your path. So I may have to work with you separately to get that to work. Anybody else have any issues getting the window to run? So I'm going to run through the rest of this this little demonstration, and then I'll stop and I'll chat separately with people that need help. But I think it's primarily, if you're having that, it's primarily we need to get it to be recognized. So actually, yeah, that was all that I had on this one. So if you have pip installed, go ahead and try this and see if you can get the window to show up like it is here. Is everyone else able to get this window to show up? Okay, so that's all that we had. I have for this schedule for this day, because we often do have problems with getting this installed. So I'm going to stop here for the presentation part. The rest is lab time, and then I'm going to continue to work with Brendan. Brendan, if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of work out the open with this, because I think a lot of people are going to have problems with what you've got, and so this way I can have it recorded, and people can refer to it to see how to troubleshoot this. So the first thing you got to do, if it's not recognizing something like pip, is you got to find where your Python is installed. And let me see if I can bring that up. So once again, let's go systematically through the different places where we can have these installed. So starting at the C drive. Yeah, and when you install, see where it puts see if it tells you where it put the installation. The installations usually go into either a directory right on the C drive. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to uninstall my Python and then reinstall it, and we can see what that looks like. So add remove programs. I've been meaning to clean up my Python install anyway, so this will help out. And so if I go to add remove programs, And I just found that by typing in here, add remove programs. I'm going to, you don't have to do this, but sometimes I find that it's useful to, I've got so many different installs of Python, I kind of want to get rid of all but one. So I'm going to uninstall and actually I'm going to close out of all my Python windows. I just had to give it permissions to do the uninstall.
Greetings, Robert.
Hey, how's it going?
It's a beautiful day, stuck in quarantine, right?
Right.
So I have a question about the Chapter 9 where we're making the class into a library and then we're trying to call it.
Yes.
All right, so I have a type error that says takes one positional argument, two were given. And
Okay.
I've kind of reworked my class to where the set point was self and coordinates, self.lat, self.long coordinates. And I still, when I pull in the set of coordinates, it still pops in as error.
The last bit was a little broken. Can you say it again?
Uh, so I did the set point self-coordinates, self.lat, self.long coordinates. Then when main instantiated a point, right, a geo point, and I called property point, and I have two floats. So it's P1 dot point equals 36 and 6. When I pull that, it tells me that there's a type error.
Could you, if you can you do you see like a button that says share screen like that? Oh, let's see. Where'd my screen stuff go? Okay, now I see it. Let me see. So the error says, I'll let you get set up.
There you are.
So get point takes one positional argument, but two were given. Let's see where our get point definition is. Okay, get point is self. It returns self.lat, self.long. That's correct. And let's go to the line where you call that. Okay, you say P1 equals geo point to create.
Well, I should be setting point first, right?
Okay, so now we have point is equal to, and we're using the property, which is correct.
Yeah.
I think what you did is you swapped out in your property, you went set and then get, but typically the first parameter of the property function is the get method and then the set method. So what happened is, since it's expecting when it calls a set method, when it calls the get method, it passes just self. When it calls a set method, it passes self plus a value, and so I think that might be what did it.
Okay. Okay. I can troubleshoot from here.
Right on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's not it's not an easy one to figure out. Sometimes with IntelliSense, or if you look at the documentation for the properties, you'll see that it says fget and fset or something like that, and that gives you the clue of which direction those need to go.
That makes sense. And I remember in the documentation, I switched it because I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I would set it first and then get it. And really,
Yeah, what it is the defaults for those are like none. So it gives you the option of making a property that only has a getter, which makes it a read-only property. And to make it easier to specify that, it puts the get method first.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And that works way better now. That was literally my only problem.
Yeah. It's always simple. If you think about it, every command, in a programming language is, individually a simple thing, and everything comes down to one simple command. So the part about debugging is mostly being able to find where the line is, and the error message will give you the line, and it's somewhere, either the lines above it or the ones leading into it, and then the key is being able to parse that line, piece by piece. And sometimes you have to go, if you look up, like I've run into that problem before, so that's why I kind of knew it was there. The way I found it was I just started retyping the command, and when I put the open parentheses, I paused and let the IntelliSense bring up the parameters. And when I looked at those parameters, like, oh, I got them backwards.
All right, now on to the rest of them.
Probably have to do a restart to get my Python super cleaned up. So I'll have to wait on that. But basically, my next step will be to install Python. For those, so I'm going to go ahead and do the Python install, even though I haven't super cleared them out yet. Hopefully I won't break my machine. You found where your Python was located? Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do the install because I just obliterated mine. And one thing that's important is I'm going to add Python 3.8 to the path. Yes. And let me see where this, if I click on customize installation, I can see I'm getting tkinter, I'm getting pip, and the PyLauncher. So that's what this install now will install. And I'm going to install for all users. It doesn't really matter, but notice the difference. If it's if you don't put for all users, it puts it in your app data local programs directory. So it puts it in the app data folder under your username. If you install for all users, it will go into program files, which is kind of where I prefer it to be anyway. So that's why I typically install for all users. And so I click on install. it elevates because I'm putting it into the programs folders and asks me for permissions. And once it does it, it does the install. Can people see my screen now? Okay. Yeah. So did you see how looking at that install showed where it was being installed? That was the most important part of that. And so when you install Python, it gives you the choice to install it for all users or for yourself. If it installs for all users, it'll go into C program files. If it's installing for just yourself, it'll go in your users directory, which is typically C. And then it'll go into users, your username, and then you'll find it app data, local. Actually, did I get it in the wrong spot? Yeah, it'll be, I think it's in app data. So it'll be a folder down in here. It might be, it'll be in one of these three folders. So you have to go looking for it if you install it for individual. I generally like to install my programs for all. Yeah, this is a different class. This is for Nick. This is for CIS1250. So there you can see it's adding it to the path, and then it's doing a bunch more stuff. It's just pip install. And if you go to python.org, or if you go to wxpython, it's they did -u wxpython. You should just be able to do pip install wxpython though. Okay, so let me let my pip install, and I'll show you how to add the path to it. Because I think you have to do it manually for some reason on your computer. I just have a couple minutes to get this to install. What you have to do is you have to add your Python script library to your path variable. So now if I go to Control Panel, System and Security, System, Advanced System Settings, I wonder if I can get there just by typing in System Properties. Try to find a faster, easier way to get there. Nope. Okay, so I go through all that, you get to Systems Properties, and then we go to Environmental Variables. Are you with me to that point? Then what we need is this path variable is where, the way the path variable works is, this is a list of all the directories which the operating system will look in to find programs that you're trying to run. What's happening is when you put the pip command in, it doesn't find pip in the same directory you happen to be in the command line, so it says it can't find it. So we have to add it to the path variable. So I'm going to select the path variable and edit it. And they give you this nice editor which lists everything in here. And so I'm going to get rid of these extra ones. And so what when we installed Python, what it did is, if I look at where this, let's see where mine ended up. So it's not in here, not in the program files. Maybe program files x86, because it's the x86 version, which seems to default to for some. Yeah, so here we can see this is the Python 3832. This mine ended up under program files x86, and this is the scripts library. So what I do is if I click on this icon here, it makes this so that I can copy it. So if I copy that, you can see that's where pip is located. And then if I create a new one, I could just paste that in here. And I might move this up to make sure it's the one that's found. This one says that there's something in Yeah, so I don't think if I look at this, there's nothing in here. So I'm going to actually, under appdata, I'm going to delete mine here because I don't want this excess one sticking around. That's from an old installation. You shouldn't have to do all this stuff. I'm just doing it to clean up. And let's see, do we have a C Python folder? Yeah, I've got some old installations here. It's not the normal way of deleting programs, but my installer is messed up, so I'm having to remove stuff manually. And so that should just leave this Python installation here. Which means I can get rid of that one and that one. So what your path should look like is you should have that path up there. Do you have that, Brendan? Now go ahead and do the pip install. And so to do that, I do command. I'm going to run as administrator. This should just normally, for all of you, everyone else not having this issue, should just normally work fine. You install Python, pip gets installed, it automatically wires up this path variable and the environmental variables, and everything just works. But this is an open source program, so sometimes it gets kind of messed up. The key is having this in the environmental variable, in the path environmental variable, in order to make sure that it you can find pip, and then you can do your pip install. Let me know how it's going, Brendan. Did it open up for you this time? Damn. Can you share your screen with me? Okay, show me your environmental variables. Actually, yeah. Okay, actually, yeah, while you're there on the Python 38, double click in your Python 38 folder. It doesn't look like Python's installed. Go up to, yeah, it looks like you have it there. Go to your C drive. And let's make sure we're look at program files x86. There it is. Python 3832, double click on that. And scripts. That's where your pip install is. Okay, so now if you click on, copy that path. Actually, you need to go into the scripts folder, then copy the path. Now, go to edit your environmental variables. Create a new one and then paste it in there. And then move up. Click on the move up button. Yeah. That should work. Okay, now click OK. Close out your command prompt window and reopen it. Run it as administrator. And then try pip install wxPython. Weird. Okay, let's try this. You got the path still copied. Go back to your command prompt. Type CD for change directory and then hit paste. Hit enter. Type dir. Enter. Okay, now do the pip install command there. All right. Well, that's the brute force method. Is if we're in the same directory, we can call the command. I don't know why maybe you needed to click OK on something on the environmental variables. For some reason, your environmental variables didn't get updated. But that shouldn't have, yeah. So in any case, you have a way of running pip. This does get you there. It's maybe when you restart, it'll be your environmental variables will be updated. Is this a office machine or anything like that? Like, does it belong to somebody else that's configured it, or is it your own? Okay, yeah, maybe just different manufacturer, but that shouldn't be a difference. I'm not sure why your environmental variable isn't pointing to it. You might try a restart and then see if pip runs from anywhere. Yeah, I had a Surface. I love my Surface. I now have a Surface, the Surface laptop version. Yeah, you can do a lot with that. I've even done 3D modeling and stuff on that. That's a great machine. I've installed Python in there. I haven't had any difficulties like that. I'm not sure why it's not picking up that environmental. But you might turn it off, turn it on, restart it, and then go look at your environmental variables, see if that's in there. Maybe, obviously that pip install works. So it's just your environmental variables are not updated. Yeah. That's the code. So that fixed it for you too, Adam? Did you have to do the one where you ran it from the directory, or did you get it to actually update the environmental variable? Right on. So that's a little bit of pain, but at least, actually, that's not a bad thing to go through. There are lots of times when you're be installing programs when you have to kind of pay attention to where those environmental variables are pointing to, especially the path one. So if it's even if it's a little frustrating, we get to learn a little bit on how that works. And every once in a while, you saw how messed up mine were. I haven't maintained this machine as well as I should. Don't tell anybody. So let me know if anyone else has any questions that I've missed or that needs an answer.
I have more questions on other topics.
I'll be right there. One second. Okay, what was the next question?
All right, so I'm trying to get the distance.
You're coming in kind of light. Can you speak closer to your microphone?
Yes. Okay, so I'm trying to get my distance via my get distance, right? And
Yeah.
it's distance 1 is equal to P1 to get distance.
Oh, you cut out.
All right, sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I'm in like a weird little room. I shout, it just echoes at me. Okay, so here I am looking over here, and see, I get distance to 1, get distance, and the get distance brings us over here, and I use the chords.
Yeah.
In your thingy, in the homework assignment, it says to change it to, what is it, 2 points. 2 points the same as coordinates?
No, because what you're going to do now that's a little different is before we were putting in, maybe, 2 numbers. Now what you're going to do is you're going to think of it as, hey, if you're going to make you have user that has a point and a description. So it is a geopoint. So your distance function is going to take now a whole geopoint. And so your lat1, and let's see, so yeah, actually you already have it because you say user1.lat and I can't see the rest of that, but where it says user, so you probably, in your case, it's not 2 point. You use the variable num user1. So for now, I would just change that from 2 point to user1. And then it should line up because now that you're passing in a point, you can use the .lat and .lon to get those out rather than having to index them out and do all this other stuff. So this makes it a little bit more elegant because now we're passing in one geopoint to another geopoint to get the distance. Does that make sense?
Kind of. Yes. Sort of.
Yeah, no, it can seem like this is weird. We have a geopoint that's referencing another geopoint, but it's using self, lat, and long. So it's a little bit meta, but basically, if you think about it, self is one geopoint, user1 is another geopoint. They both have lats and longs. So self has a lat and long, and user1 has a lat and long, and so that's how we get our 2 coordinates that we're calculating the distance from.
Okay, and then, so I pulled out the part that changed it to a radiant. Where should I fit that in here?
I would put it in the distance function because you're going to ask the user for decimal degrees. So what this amounts to is there's 2 approaches to this. One is in your set method, you could, whenever they set decimal degrees in, you could automatically switch it to radians there, and then it lives as radians. But then when they get that lat and long, then you have to make sure you convert it back out to degrees. If you don't want to do all that, then another place you can store it in your lat and long as decimal degrees, and inside of your distance function at the top, you make some temporary variables that converts it to radians, or you have to put radians around every place where you say self.lat, self.lon, user.lat, user.lon.
Okay. Clear as mud.
Basically, you have to, make sure that when you set and get, you set the same in the same units as you return, and in your distance function though, you have to make sure that you convert those to radians because the sine and cosine tangent functions take radians as their arguments. And this is something that happens a lot with programming anything with numbers. You know, you have to pay attention to the units that are coming in order to make sure that you're always, you're always calculating with what you should be. So like if you ask the user, give me the height of that wall. Well, if they say 5, you don't know if it's, 5 feet or 5 meters or 5 kilometers or 5, centimeters or 5 decimeters. So you always have to trace your units as you go through a program.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. All right. Thank you very much.
Certainly. Yes, go ahead. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, where you have like a point.setPoint. Yeah, actually that should be point1.setPoint, I think. You want to notice that you need a set of parentheses wrapping the 32.1319 and the 106 because you've changed it to take one parameter, so we need to pass it a tuple. And you'll have to do that with this point 2 as well. So it looks like everything's working up to that point. You just now you just have to do the rest of the program. So you got Latin long, you make a point for the user, and then, and wait, is this, which program is this? Okay. 7, yeah. So I think you're on track. Now you just need to find, pass that lat long for the user to your distance function for each point. That'll get you point 1's distance and point 2's distance, and then you can compare those two to find out which one's closer. Does that make sense?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I think so. I'm still a little confused on it.
Yeah, so the way I would attack this now is you've got that Latin long from the user. Just say print point 1 dot distance and pass in that lat long and just see what you get out of that, and you'll see that that's yeah.
Okay.
And when you run that, you'll see that you're getting the distance out.
Okay. So print
point 1. You can put a prompt on there if you want, but
point 1
dot distance. So now we're going to call its distance, and it takes self lat long. Self is of course 0.1, so that you just need to pass it in the latitude and longitude you want, which is going to be Latin long, because that's what you called them when you got them from the user.
So like that.
Yeah, and then run that, and you'll see that you need a closing parentheses too. Run that, and then you'll see that you should get a number out of that, and that is the distance to that point from the user.
Radian.
Did you miss an import statement maybe?
Oh, I put radians, not radian. Right there.
Easy enough.
Spelling is so much fun.
Yeah. Someone needs to write the "do what I mean, not what I say"
Exactly.
function.
Okay, so
That's the distance from point 1 to those coordinates. Now, if you run the same thing again against point 2, you get the other one. And then think about it. Whichever one's smaller is the closer point.
okay, so I got to do another print statement after this for self.lat and self.long.
Well, you got to do. I would do another print statement for 0.2 distance lat long. Yeah. And then think about how do I, now that I know how to get the distance from each point, how do I figure out which one's closer and how do I display that to the user, etc.
What would I use for that?
Same lats and lon, because you're using 0.1's distance function to the user, and then now you're using 0.2's distance function to the user.
Okay.
Same user, same location.
And then
run that, and you'll see you'll get two distances. Now, this isn't part of your program per se. It's just to show you that you can now use 0.1's distance function and 0.2's distance function.
Okay.
So what you'll likely do is you'll save those into some variables, compare them, and then in one branch of the if statement, you'll say, hey, you're closer to blah, blah, blah. And the other branch, you'll say, else, you're closest to the other one, and blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so then just use an if-else right here in this, like right here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So give that a try and let me know if you have another question. Try to figure that out. And I would store those distances maybe in shorter variables. You could say like if 0.1 dot distance lat long is less than 0.2 dot distance lat long. That's another way you could do it, but it's up to you how you want to do that.
Okay, sorry, that just confused me.
Well, you make an if statement. What you're going to do is you're going to compare those two distances. So you could
do...
Yeah.
Distance is less than?
Well, you need to pass in the latitude and longitude. Otherwise, you're just going to get a reference to the function. You need to call that function. You need a 0.2.
Oh. So and then after this, put the else down here?
Yes. You don't need those print statements anymore. You'll need other print statements, but you don't need those.
Okay.
So then I'm going to let you figure out what you need to print on both of those, but you're like about 98.7% done.
Okay. So this basically just needs to go inside of here.
Yeah, you're not going to display the distance there. You're going to say, hey, you're closer to blah, 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 which is located at blah, blah, blah.
Okay. And then where do the description statements go?
Right there. So you could say you are closer to 0.1 dot distance, which is located at 0.1 dot get point, something of that nature. But I want you to figure that part out.
Okay.
Are there any other questions out there that I'm missing?
I think it's just me and Ryan now.
All right.
So it goes here in this print statement or next to it or underneath of it?
Inside that print statement. So realize, if I say point one dot description or point one dot get description, that function just returns to me a string. So
Right.
just try that. Just try putting point one dot get description and just see what it does. Just double click it, copy and paste it.
And then run that.
Yeah, go ahead and run that for now, and then we'll see how we need to fix it. So what is the error? So it gave you kind of an error there, right?
Yeah, it was like a syntax error.
Oh yeah, because of else. Yeah, go
Right.
just delete the else for now, or you can else and then pass or something.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, so just random numbers.
You might want to put in point one stuff, otherwise it's not going to satisfy the if.
Oh, okay. So that would be
32 and 106 should get you there. So what happened there is get description. That's just a reference to the function. So that doesn't help you out.
right.
What you need is the open close parentheses next to that.
Right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, after get description. Right now you have it outside the whole parentheses. So that's how you do a function call. So that should call the get description and then show it. So go ahead and give that a try. The other possibility is that it's not going into that loop. And if you just put 132, if you just put 32 and 106, that should definitely be closer to that first point.
Okay, so 32 and 106.
Yeah. And for some reason it's not displaying. Let's see what's going on. Point one dot distance.
It might be because I don't have anything in description.
Oh yeah. No, you have return self dot description. Let's see what got. Did you set this? Did you use set description?
Well, I did the self dot this right here.
Yeah, that's in the constructor. That's fine. Let's see where you set. Oh, there you haven't set a name. So where you make your geopoints, you set your point, but you haven't called set description.
Okay. So do it like right here.
I usually do it. I did like point one. It has to be after you instantiate it. So it's got to be after point one equals geopoint.
Okay.
Anywhere after that.
So
that's too early. You got to be after you instantiate it.
Like down here.
Yeah. Yeah, like after that, hit enter. Yeah, anywhere that would be fine. Basically, when you say point one equals geopoint, that's where you instantiate it. That's where you can now start calling the set description. If you do it before that, it won't know what set description is.
Okay, so now I do
point one dot set description.
And do that for point two as well, right?
Yeah, but you got to pass in a string to set into it. So inside the parentheses, you got to give it something to set in there.
Okay. I think I did Roswell and no, not Roswell. Las Cruces.
So the way you could think of this is your set methods are putting things into the class. Your get methods are pulling things out of the class. Think of it like a folder with information in it.
Okay.
And now if you go back, let's go up to set description. Let's take a look at that. So you see where it says DESC?
Mm-hmm.
those strings you just put in there, those will go into that DESC variable, and then it sets it into self.desc. You see
Okay. Yeah.
and then that's why it's storing it in self. That's what we're making it do.
Okay.
It seems weird, but that's the thing that every programmer in the world uses as a pattern.
Right. Okay. So then now we can run it and it should bring back these?
Yeah, I think it's going to work now.
Okay.
Never any guarantees, but you know.
Right.
Maybe a spelling error. Double click copy, double click paste. Just easier than actually reading it and trying to find it. And try it again.
Here we go. 82106. Oh.
Interesting. Why don't you print out the distances again and see if our assumptions are correct about the distance? Maybe there's a problem with the distance calculation.
So that was.
I do it before the if statement. Yeah.
Okay.
That way
it runs.
It always runs, and you always know what the distances are.
1 dot. It was distance, right?
Yep. Then pass in the user's Latin long.
Two 106.
So it looks like the distance for one is 8277, but the other one is 7782. We really, if we're like that close to it, should be a very short distance. 8,000 miles seems to.
It does, yeah.
So there's something wrong with your distance function. So why don't you take a look at that? Lat 1, lon 2, lat 2, lon 2. That looks correct. Radius of the Earth looks correct. A10 2. Was there some squares or something that are missing here? Nope, you got those.
I pulled the distance from the P6.
Yeah, that looks correct. D equals R times C. Maybe that divide by 2 is a little off. No, that seems like that's right. Oh, wait, sine lat minus ln divided by 2 squared. But then we take sine ln 1 ln 2. Yeah, look at that last term there. See if that divide by 2 is in the right place.
This one right here?
Yeah. So maybe look at the previous version or look at the spec and then compare against the formula. I don't know if that's it.
So this is the spec.
Yeah, scroll down to the formula. Well, let's see. Yes. That's squared. It's ln 1 minus ln 2 divided by 2, the sine of that, and that whole thing squared. So that square's on the wrong side of that.
Okay. So this needs to be outside of here.
Outside of that parentheses that you're next to. So take that and then go outside of the sine and then put the square.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just the way they do the mathematical notation versus
It's still the same thing.
we're getting the same thing, huh? Let's see. Run it again. Let me just make sure. Oh, and then we we know it. We have cosine lat 1 times cosine lat 2. We have same thing. So sine of lat 1 minus lat 2 divided by 2 squared plus cosine lat 1 times cosine lat 2 times sine of ln 1 minus ln 2 divided by 2 squared. Put a 2.0. I think this is 3 though, so it should be doing decimal math though.
So the 2.0 after right here?
No, the divide by 2, make it a divide by 2.0. I don't think that's the problem though, because we're in Python 3. And you might do it to the other one, but we'll see if we get different numbers.
Same thing.
Yeah. Scroll up. Let me see the rest of the class. No, you're not doing anything with radians anywhere. Scroll down. Let me see the main part of the code. Point 1, point 2. Set point. Set description. Scroll up and let me see your set point method.
Do these need to be self-taught?
Okay. You see where you have lat 2 and ln 2?
Right here?
Yeah, you notice how you set it to self.lat, self.ln as well?
Oh, yeah,
That needs to be lat and long.
Okay.
So get rid of the self dot for those two.
So that one needs to be lat.
Yeah.
Long.
Yep.
Oops. 32.
Are we still getting goofy numbers though, aren't we?
Yeah, 8193. And see, I got kind of goofy numbers on the P6, but you said it was fine.
Let's see. Are we floating those numbers that we're getting in from the user? Let's take a look down below.
Yeah, float right here.
Yeah, you're floating them. That should be correct. So I'm missing something. Send me your program. Let me work with it, and let me see if I can find out what's going on with it.
Okay.
You can actually copy and paste the text into an email directly, or you can zip it, or you can change it to text. But email doesn't. CNM's email filters out Python files.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I just copy and pasted this in there.
Yeah, that works fine.
Okay, I sent it to you.
Cool. I'll reply on the email.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. See you all next time. Just let me make sure. Is there any questions that are outstanding out there that I haven't spoken to?
I think it's just you and me now.
All right, right on.
All right.
Thanks.
Yep. See you later.
National self-lat.